We've all been in a situation where suddenly a random dog shows up and starts barking at us for some reason, leaving you to wonder. Why me? Do I smell like cats? Sausage? Am I this particular doggy's sworn enemy and I didn't even know it? But most of the time, dogs are just being friendly and will quickly find something more interesting, or indeed get called back by their owner. But what about other animals that just go nuts for no obvious reason? From the rhino who decided to obliterate a car to the hippo who flew into a rage with a massive Cape buffalo. Here's the 15 angriest animals that appeared out of nowhere. Number 15. Angry rhino attacks car. In this video, a ranger at the Serengeti Safari Park seems to be using a pretty aggressive tactic to move this huge rhino away from the road. The ranger goes right up close to the rhino in his small Volkswagen, hoping to herd the rhino back to wherever he was supposed to be. But this approach does not go down well with the rhino, who retreats a little at first, but when the car continues to jolt towards him, decides enough is enough, and this rhino gets seriously angry.
Pretty badly damaged, as you can see, but the keeper suffered only bruises, according to the park's manager. No one is quite sure.
He digs his massive horn into the side of the car, lifting and flipping it, his powerful legs driving him as he batters the car again and again, destroying the roof and no doubt giving the ranger inside the fright of his life. The enraged rhino lets this human and his technology know who is really the boss here. A reminder that acting stupid and taking the rhino's power for granted is a terrible mistake that could have cost him his life. In the end, another ranger in a 4x4 shows up and courageously moves in on the rhino to finally move him away. And the rhino decides that the bigger car isn't worth his effort. The ranger in the first car gets out seemingly unharmed, but having learned all about the true power of a rhino. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or Slenderman will come from under your bed when you're sleeping. Time for the rare topic. How about this for a face-off? Two of Africa's greatest predators looking angry as hell and going for each other in a crazy fight. Which one do you think is going to win this battle of giant beasts? From what we've been told, some innocent photographer managed to capture this shot one Sunday when he wasn't even planning to get a photo of anything particularly interesting. He only had his camera on him because he always does, and I bet he's glad he did. He said that he was just enjoying an ordinary day when suddenly, a furious lion appeared out of literally nowhere and decided to go to town on a poor gorilla. Yikes! As always, comment down below with the hashtag #RareTopic and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed on screen. Let's move on to the next one. Number 14. Angry hippo attacks Cape buffalo. The Cape buffalo is a tough beast, and known for its aggressive nature and huge size and strength, but it certainly has to put up with a lot of ferocious predators living in its habitat. Crocodiles and lions as neighbors don't make life easy for the buffalo. You'd think its fellow herbivores would be less of a problem. However, when the herbivore in question is a massive hippopotamus, things aren't so straightforward. In this encounter, the buffalo shows no fear at the beginning of the standoff and lowers its big head as a threat to the hippo, the instinctive threat position for a buffalo to take, warning its opponent that it might charge. The only problem here is that this angry hippo is also taking up its threat position, which involve opening its massive mouth containing 4 2-foot-long sharp teeth to a 180-degree angle, and showing off that it could not care less about this buffalo's threats by, well, basically by trying to put the buffalo's entire head in its mouth. The buffalo manages to escape the massive jaws of the hippo, and once you've had your entire head in a mouth that big, there's not much left to do but run, which is exactly what the buffalo does. Number 13. Cassowary attacks man. The cassowary, native to Australia, is known as the world's most dangerous bird, and these bad-tempered avians can turn around and go crazy at a moment's notice. They look like they are the result of a complicated love affair between a turkey and an ostrich, but are in fact descended from dinosaurs, and they have the claws, beak, and bad attitude to prove it. In this video, an Australian man gets a little close to the world's most violent chicken, and although he is a pro and knows to keep the original Angry Bird at a stick length away from him, it's not hard to see and hear how the cassowary's great-great-great-grandfather was a velociraptor. Okay, I'll admit I cut out a few greats there, but you get the idea.
The horn on his head there, when he runs, he can run up to 40 to 50 kilometers.
And especially now that paleontologists have more or less decided that most of the dinosaurs would have likely had feathers, is this flightless bird in fact just a dinosaur? Those claws are strong and sharp enough to disembowel a person, and there are 200 reported cassowary attacks every year, and although they mainly eat fruit, they are certainly partial to the occasional rat, mouse, or fish. Or in this case, maybe a little human. Clever girl. Number 12. Tasmanian devil attacks man. The Tasmanian devil is a carnivorous marsupial which lives on the Australian island of, well, Tasmania. It is a hunter and a scavenger, and is mainly nocturnal. Humans long believed that the devils were relentlessly vicious and were a constant threat to livestock, but this turned out to be an exaggeration, as they are quite playful animals, and not as ferocious as their reputation suggests. This came a little too late for the devils on mainland Australia, as they were completely wiped out there, only surviving on their little island. As this devil's keeper found out, their playfulness can be a little rough at times, and this particular devil makes a leap and attacks the man's boot pretty energetically. And from the camera, we can see just how it might feel if one of these guys went for your face. Still, he manages to shake him off, although if a devil starts spinning around in a mini tornado, don't worry. It only means you're watching Saturday morning cartoons. Number 11. Angry tiger attacks grizzly bear. In this clip, we see a bizarre encounter between a tiger and a grizzly bear. Something pretty unlikely to happen in the wild, since these two are hardly neighbors. This ferocious encounter shows the two great predators tackling each other in a picnic area, while some people stand around watching. And in the end, the tiger gives a submissive gesture before running away. Victory for the grizzly bear? Well, not exactly. This is actually a scene from an obscure 1978 TV movie called The Beasts Are on the Streets, which tells of an accident at a Texas wildlife reserve, leading to a whole bunch of wild animals running loose in the local area, including this crazy scene involving a grizzly and a tiger. In reality, these two are the best of friends, having grown up together as trained animals, and this is how they play to hone their skills. But it certainly looks like some angry play. Luckily for the people stood around, not to mention the camera crew, these two were accompanied by their handlers and did a fine job of acting out a pretty convincing fight. If this happened in reality, you'd probably still back the grizzly, but it would be a close call. Number 10. Angry alligator attacks alligator. Out in the wild, or in this case, what kind of looks like a golf course with some serious water dangers, an alligator has pretty much nothing to fear, except, of course, for another alligator, when these two monsters decide to duke it out for control of the 18th hole. Things can get pretty nasty, as this group discovered when they stumbled upon two huge gators fighting to death.
You think he's out?
To begin with, one of the gators has almost the entire head of the other in its mouth, and he is pressing down with the full couple of thousand pounds per square inch of pressure he is able to apply. Later, we see what seems to be the same bigger gator, now with his rival's tail in his mouth, doing more damage. The victim manages to roll clear, but not before losing a sizable chunk of flesh from his tail. Looking a little weak and woozy, and with a mouth dripping with blood, either his own or his rival's, from an attack we didn't see, he gingerly makes his way back to the water. The big boss has also slunk back in, and it looks like the little guy is coming back for more. But this fight is done, and there's little doubt about the winner. Number 9. Angry King Cobra attacks mongoose. The king cobra is one of nature's most majestic and dangerous creatures. With their distinctive hood, they are the longest venomous snake in the world and are capable of killing an elephant with a single bite. Such is the quantity of the neurotoxin they are able to administer in one go. They can stand up to the height of a man and grow to as much as 18 feet in length. With all this, it's no wonder that they will sometimes feel like they have something of a superiority complex when it comes to other animals, especially small mammals. Enter the mongoose. As we can see, this mongoose is pretty chilled out, sniffing around for bits of food, but then all of a sudden he's being bothered by a giant king cobra who, like a sleazy guy hitting on a girl in a nightclub, no matter how uninterested the mongoose seems, this snake will not leave this thing alone. Eventually, the mongoose decides it's time to throw down. What the cobra doesn't know is that this mammal is a black belt in snake fighting, and off the bat, the mongoose is outmaneuvering and intimidating the cobra. Before long, the cobra realizes what a huge mistake picking this fight was. But the mongoose isn't giving up, and amazingly, he soon has the cobra's head in his jaws, and the victory is his. What a fighter! Number 8. Angry Goat. A cobra is one thing, but how about a goat? Kind of cuddly like a hungrier sheep, right? Nope. At least, not in this video from Brazil, where an angry goat was running loose on the streets outside a prison and went on a rampage, charging and headbutting a bunch of people who happened to be passing by. First up, he gives a motorcycle a strong enough butt of his head to jolt the bike and knock both passengers off. That's a tough skull. Next up, a man in a striped shirt seems to have fallen for the bait and tries, pretty unsuccessfully, to fight back against the raging farm animal, managing to give the goat a kick and a shove, but the goat isn't stopping there. He takes a dislike to the woman walking across his path with a shopping bag and decides to knock her right down there in the street. Our striped crusader comes back for another swing at the goat, hoping to defend the poor woman, and the pair seem well matched enough for a while, but the goat then turns his attention to another man who has the sense to run for it and hide behind a car. But the goat then turns his attention to another man who has the sense to run for it and hide behind a car, before another full-grown man is chased up a tree. Wait, aren't we supposed to be the greatest predator species to ever walk the earth? So much for that. This one little brown goat is the new king. Number 7. Angry Elephant. Back in classical antiquity, the armies of Carthage had mounted elephant units, which must have been a terrifying sight for their Roman enemies, who would likely never have seen anything like an elephant in their lives, let alone worked out how to fight against one. The only trouble with the war elephants was that, unlike horses, they have a tendency to go berserk when overstressed, and can turn around and rampage through their own troops. Not great news for the Carthaginians. To counter this, elephant riders carried a hammer and chisel they could drive into the elephant's head in case things started going wrong. In this video, the riders have no such recourse. They're just going to have to hold on tight and hope for the best. Clearly, like a lot of city dwellers, he's had enough of the sound of scooters, so they are his first target. The men surrounding him have little choice but to back off when the elephant turns their way, Just look at the size difference and you'll understand why. After twirling a motorcycle in the air like a band leader's baton, the elephant ups his game and decides to destroy a small truck, throwing it around like a cat with a ball of twine. This elephant is seriously fed up with motor vehicles. Luckily for the riders, it seems he's forgotten they are even up there. Number 6. Angry Rabbit. From a giant elephant destroying motorcycles to an angry bunny rabbit flexing its muscles and trying to bust up some crockery. Bunny rabbits are probably not the first animal that comes to mind when you think of furious rage, aggression, and vandalism. But this little ball of fluff has something to say, and he's going to say it by flinging his food bowls around like a bunny Godzilla crossed with a Greek waiter. Only, being plastic, he's going to have a hard time smashing these plates. Still, this hungry rabbit clearly means business. And he's giving both of these bowls the thrashing of a lifetime. Perhaps someone asked him, "What's up, Doc?" Just one too many times, and his skills are pretty impressive. Using only his teeth and neck muscles, he is able to really fling that bowl across his hutch, leaving his owner in little doubt about what kind of mood he's in today. Perhaps it might be wise to give Russell Crowe the rabbit an extra carrot or two to calm his furious temper. And let's be thankful this ferocious bunny wabbit is locked in a cage. Number 5. Cape Buffalo to Rhino. Here's a more controversial angry pair, the Cape Buffalo and the Rhino, two of the toughest beasts of the African savanna, and they are going head-to-head in this video. The buffalo, sometimes nicknamed the Black Death for their aggressive and angry nature, is in its head-down fighting stance, and the rhino, which is basically a giant gouging weapon with legs and extra tough skin, is doing more or less the same. They size each other up for a bit, and it seems neither one is going to back down. The buffalo, however, is a little bit like the angry guy who wants to pick a fight with the biggest dude at the bar just to prove a point. He makes the first move, but the rhino is unfazed. The rhino takes his time.
He's got him pegged on that horn. This buffalo's coming off second base.
And picks his moment to strike, and it's not long before he's got the buffalo right where he wants him. That big horn gouges into the buffalo again and again, and even the eventual arrival of some of the buffalo's buddies to help out makes no difference. Pretty soon it's clear that the buffalo is seriously wounded. He fights on bravely, but is knocked down again and again, before eventually it seems like the other buffalo practically drag him away to save him from being killed. A brave but overconfident buffalo destroyed by the living tank that is the rhino. Number 4. Angry Giraffe. Lions are ferocious, brave, and powerful hunters, but as we can see in this video, sometimes they can literally bite off more than they can chew when it comes to choosing prey. These female lions are attempting to attack a full-grown giraffe, and this massive equine beast is not about to take it lying down. The first lion tries a pretty crazy attack, trying to grasp the massive neck of the giraffe in full flight, but ends up with nothing more than a heavy landing and a stomp to the back for her trouble. Later, a giraffe is defending itself against a group of lionesses who are trying to take the giraffe down together. One of the lions manages to grab a baby giraffe, but the mother giraffe isn't going to allow them to get away with it. She retaliates with ferocious kicking, causing the lions to scatter. Her huge legs come stomping down, and a giraffe on a rampage is a sight to behold. Somewhere in the melee, the giraffe manages to deliver a kick severe enough to incapacitate one of the lions, and we see the big cat struggle and try to get up, only to be stomped several more times. The other lions look on, but it's game over for this lioness. The giraffe has killed her. Number 3. Angry Swan. Swans might seem a little more elegant than their cousins, the cassowaries, but when a swan gets angry enough, that T-Rex DNA seems to come alive in them too. In this video, shot on Hampstead Heath, London, back in 2009, a mother mute swan is minding her own business on the pond, taking care of her 9 fluffy cygnets. Then, suddenly, an unleashed dog decides to go down and take a look at these beautiful birds before getting a dose of an angry swan in all its majesty. As the big bird rises up to full height, hisses and charges the dog, causing it to flee. Swans are widespread in temperate climates and have inspired some of the most lasting cultural and mythological elements of human history. They are important to Greek, Scandinavian, Hindu, and Irish lore, mythology, and poetry. They frequently feature in classical paintings and inspired Swan Lake, perhaps the most famous ballet of all time. Furthermore, swan meat has been traditionally considered a delicacy in England, and they are expressly protected by the Queen. Most of these tend to focus on the elegance, mystery, and beauty of the species. But swans would be just as useful in a bar brawl as a ballet, it seems. Number 2. Angry Beaver. For anyone old enough to remember the 90s cartoon, Angry Beaver, this entry may not come as a surprise. Beavers are a pretty angry species in real life too. There are many recorded cases of beaver attacks on humans, and the long sharp teeth they use for building their dams can tear through human flesh like a hot knife through butter. There has been one recorded fatality when a Belarusian fisherman was attacked by a beaver who bit through an artery in his leg, causing him to bleed to death. In this extraordinary encounter, caught by a passing motorist, a very brave beaver takes on a bear in a fight. This tough beaver gave everything he got against an opponent around 10 times his size, and at one point, looked like he had done enough to cause the bear to give up and head back into the woods. The smart move for the beaver at this point would have been to make a run for it, but this angry dam builder wants more. So he throws himself back into the action. Only this time, the massive bear is able to make the size difference count, and the beaver ends up as a bear snack. But only after an impressive battle. Number 1. Angry Koala. Every Australian knows about the ever-present danger of the drop bear, a vicious, carnivorous, and predatory version of the koala, which drops from trees onto humans and devours them. This might seem ridiculous anywhere else, but in Australia, pretty much everything else is insanely dangerous in one way or another. So man-eating koalas, why the hell not? Drop bears may or may not be mythical creatures invented to scare tourists. But regular koalas are more than enough to worry about if this video is anything to go by. The koala seems content enough hanging out on his tree. But something about the zookeeper seems to annoy him all of a sudden. And before the keeper knows what's happening, he's being chased by a koala and is forced to escape over a fence after a pretty low speed, but nonetheless tense pursuit. It seems like our human has escaped the ferocious marsupial. But this koala isn't done yet. An unfortunate quokka, a small marsupial, happens to wander by, and the koala pounces, with a nasty punch-up ensuing. The keeper intervenes, but once again finds himself in the role of koala prey. A dramatic leap to safety saves the zookeeper, but now the quokka wants revenge, and the brawl with the koala erupts again. Finally, the zookeeper takes a large branch and is able to separate these two furious marsupials, sending them back up their trees. And this time not having to run for his life from a raging koala bear. Which of these fights impressed you the most? Have you ever been attacked by a random animal that appeared from nowhere? Let us know in the comments below. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time.